Okay. Let's take a look at 'cause I think on Friday, I think we had said that next piece of Gemara, where the Gemara brought down Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak on 53b2, Shchika Samonim Gufa Tanohi, that there's an actual argument if we know there's a concern of the rabbis are concerned that you might come to grind, the issue of morning Adam of taking medication, you might come to grind herbs on Shabbat. Grinding is one of the melachot on Shabbat. But whether we are going to forbade other types of healing because of the concern of, meaning if it's a question of taking medication itself, we understand that will be, you're afraid to don't take the medication because you might come to grind. But other types of healing, which is not involved with medication, taking medication, would we go ahead and forbade that type of healing of healing? So that the Gemara says it's an actual argument. The Tanya, we learned to the Brisa, behema she'ochel kashinin, an animal has eaten kashinin and it got sick as a result of this food that it ate, and it needs to go ahead and loosen its bowels and to remove and to loosen its bowels, and that would heal it. And so you can't make it run in the court. You make it run out in the courtyard in order to loosen its bowels, and that's going to be the healing process. So that's an act of healing. So how far did we go, regarding our concern? If you do this act of healing, you might come to grind herbs. And the other opinion said of Osha Matir. Of Osha said you're allowed to. We don't make money, Moshe. You're allowed to do that, and we don't forbade other medical treatments because of if this medical treatment is not involved in medication, so we don't have to forbade it because it might come because of the general problem of medication. But Dorish Rav says that we don't go ahead and forbade other types of medical things for the animal, which does not involve medication. So we don't go that far to say, okay, you might come morning Adam and have a problem with that's part of the healing issue of our general enactment. And therefore he said, no, we don't have to. If it's not about medication, you would be able to do that act of healing for the animal. Okay, let's get a new piece over here. Going Omar Lo Yetze Hazav B'Kishalo, right? You have it. It's on 53b3, the first column. 53b3 on the top of the page.
The Russian, the gray.
Yeah, 53b, 53b3. Okay. Good morning, Mordechai, and welcome back. And Adam, welcome back. Welcome. Good to have everybody back. And we have Ralph on and Aaron's on. Aaron, good morning to you.
Morning, Rabbi.
Okay. So let's just see. Omamar, you have it. Lo yetze hazav b'kishalo. On Shabbat, we're saying that a zav, someone who has a discharge, right? Zav is someone had an unusual discharge. There's a normal discharge a person has when he's with his wife, and then something unusual discharge this person is having, and there's certain halachot in the Torah about he becomes tamei, he becomes contaminated as a result of that, and if he has multiple discharges, then he could be sometimes contaminated. If he has one discharge, contaminated for one day. If he has two discharges, he's contaminated for 7 days. So they would wear, sometimes they put a pouch around his personal private part in order to catch any discharge. And the issue here is on Shabbat to go with that pouch. That pouch is not part of the person. It's not a garment for the person. It's not it's not jewelry for the person. So this opinion says, the Brisa says, you can't go out. The Zav can't go out with this pouch on the Shabbat itself to the public property, because that would be carrying, right? That's what he's saying. This pouch would be carrying. V'lo izim b'kish shabbat. And the goat cannot go out with a kiss. A kiss would be a pouch by its udders. So it had the pouch by its udders, and it can't go out with it. Why would be the problem with going out with the pouch by the udders? Because what is the point of the pouch? Is it, if it's a cat's milk? So let's say the Gemara that's carrying. But it's not for the animal itself, let's say, and therefore that pouch that is considered extra, right? It's extra, and therefore it would be considered carrying. But Tanya, but we have a Braita that says Yotzim Izim v'Kishavadayim. We have a Braita that said that the Izim, right, Adam, could go out with the kiss, that this pouch that's by its udders. So the Gemara says, everybody with me? Adam, you with me?
Yeah.
We're on 53b3.
Where are you in the page?
We're in the page here, right in the middle of the first column, 53b3. Left side. So the Gemara says, right? So the Gemara says, Amar Huda depends, Lokasha, right, Aaron? Hadim Hadek, right, Asaf? Good morning, Asaf. If it's tight, then you're not afraid that the pouch is going to fall off and the person's going to come to carry it. Right. We were saying that maybe it's considered a load. It's nothing to do with falling off. This opinion says that pouch, he considers it like a garment. This opinion doesn't consider it a load, something extra. It considers it part of the animal. And the reason why, and he says that the one Braita that says that you're allowed to go ahead and do it is when it's tight. And if it's tight, it's not going to fall off. It's not going to fall off. You're not going to come carry it. However, the other Braita that says that you can't go ahead, the animal can't go out, is talking when it's not tight. And if it's not tight, so we're afraid that what's going to happen? We're afraid that it's going to fall off. And if it falls off, right, Mordechai, what might happen? You might come, Mordechai Akiva, you might come to carry it, right? So we don't do things on Shabbat, things that might fall off, right? You don't wear types of clothing on Shabbat. You don't wear loose type of, you won't wear, let's say, a shoe that might not be your size, that's a very bit large on you, that might fall off. You might come to carry it. You should be wearing that, right? If you're wearing a size that's two, 3 sizes bigger than you, right? That would be, there's certain things you can't do. So the Gemara is had the hadek, had the lom hadek. It depends if it's tight, and when it's not tight. If it's not tight, you can't go ahead and wear it on Shabbat. Again, Moshe, what's the concern? You can't go from private property on Shabbat to public property unless there's an eruv. And if there's no eruv, it's a problem of carrying. And we're afraid you might come to carry. And here we're saying if it's loose, it might fall off, and you might come to carry this. Might come to carry this pouch.
And this is done in the Gola, right? In Israel, you can carry.
And whatever, most of Israel, I think they carry. Most of Israel, right. As long as you find out that they can carry it, whatever the custom of the community, proper custom of the religious community. What? Right. Whatever they have walls of certain walls, or they have areas, whatever they have.
In Tel Aviv or Jerusalem. right?
Whatever, again, I'm not familiar with all of Israel.
No, I know it has them, but like, would it be rejected the way, how do you reject the Manhattan one?
Yeah, but I mean,
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
okay, Ramosha has rejected Manhattan.
Rabbi Friedman's not carrying on the lower.
No, there's Qumran, many rabbis.
Yeah, but Ramosha doesn't hold it as a chumrah. Ramosha holds it's actually it is the law. I mean, that is Ramosha Feinstein's opinion. I mean, again, there's different opinions. Mordechai, you want to say something or not?
Problem, if it's loose and it has some, what is it?
The issue okay, what if the pouch is loose, you're saying? Right, the fastening is loose, it would not, as long as you're not making a knot, anything that won't be an issue. The issue here is that it might fall off and it might come to carry. Rabbi Yosef, this is Rabbi Yehuda's approach. Rabbi Yehuda's approach was, it depends if it's tight or not tight. And Rabbi Yehuda seems to be explaining the Mishnah, the Braita, according to the opinion of the Tanna Kama of the Mishnah that we had earlier, that says that the goat could go out with its udders tied with a pouch. So the Rabbi Yosef says, why do you have to go ahead and say and come to this answer? Tanai Shaklat Ma'alma, did you remove all the Tanaim, all the rabbis of the Mishnah from the world? We know we have the Mishnah stated. There's a machloket in the Mishnah, but Adam was bringing up the point before about there's an opinion in the Mishnah that says the pouch according to some is a load. It's extra. It's not part of the animal, and therefore the Mishnah says two opinions. One opinion says you could go out. Animal cannot go out with a pouch. One opinion says an animal could go out with the pouch. So if you have two brightos, say it again.
Oh, sure.
Right. If you do you consider it a load or not? Do you consider the pouch a load or not? So you want to say something? So why you have to try to figure out? Why do you have to try to establish it? Like they're both everybody's agreeing with the Tanna Kama's position that it's Tanna Kama who says back on. Let's take a look at Tanna Kama's position. I mean, I'll look at it. Everyone has to turn the page if you don't have to. If you want to, on Nun Beis Amud Beis, Izim Yosot Surot. The Tanna Kama says the goats could go out with it tied. Why do you have to just say and now you have to try to figure everything? How does it fit? When one bright says it can, one color says it can't, and you're telling me when it's tight, when it's not tight. Just say one bright is talking according to the opinion of Tanna Kama, and the other bright is according to the other opinion that says you can't do it. We have two opinions in the Mishnah. So just say the opinion that says why do you have to establish a specific type of case when it's tight and not tight, which is a very detailed case. Because the Braita did not tell us details of when it could, when it can't. The Braita says it could go out, the Braita says well, it can't go out. So instead of saying it's talking about different scenarios, just say the Braita that says it can't go out is the opinion that says it's called a load. The Braita says it can't go out, it's not a load.
One says allowed, one says not allowed. And here we're trying to understand what must be the circumstance to reconcile that they're both mutually correct.
Right.
Those two, why not just saying one's correct and one's wrong?
Not one correct, one's wrong. Just say they're two different opinions.
Why not?
That's much more simpler. They try to, it's like you said, they try to establish it in a very specific type of scenario, right? Correct according to one opinion, right? That's what the Gemara says. Tanai, he says, Tanai, it's Machlokes Tanai of the time. It's not now. The Gemara itself brings our mission that way before. Ha'izim yotzot surot. The goats go out surot. The goats go out with it tied, the other tied. Rabbi Yossi also bekulam, and Rabbi Yossi forbids going out with all type of things that I mentioned in the Mishnah that it could go out with. Chutz min archelot hagvunot, except he says that the sheep could go out with a garment that's on top of the wool of the sheep to guard the wool from that it shouldn't get dirty. So that he looks at it like clothing. But he says you can't go out with the udder tied with a pouch around the udder. And Rabbi Yehuda says, Izim yotzot surot. Izim, the goats could go out if it's tied liyavesh, if it's tied to dry the milk. If you want to dry the udder that the animal should not give out milk, that's helpful for the animal because the milking of the milk of the animal weakens the animal, and therefore that's also that's called for the animal itself. Of a low lechalev. But if you go ahead and you tie the udder because you want the milk to get, you want to catch the milk, that's considered a load. So the Tanakama and Rabbi Yossi, argue clearly regarding the pouch. That Rabbi Yossi says you can't go out with the pouch. He doesn't make any case that you could go out with a pouch. And he only allows the sheep to put on that garment on top of the sheep to protect the wool, but he doesn't allow a pouch. And Tanakama allows a pouch. So you could just say that explains the apparent contradiction. And Bibai Dema, Rabbi Yosef says another thing. You know what? And now, you went ahead and you explained the Braitas according to the Tanakama, who allows the animal going out with the pouch, and you said the discrepancy is one is tight and one is not tight. You could say both go according to Rabbi Yehuda, who they could say both could go according to Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, and Velokasha, and it's not a contradiction. How could it be like Rabbi Yehuda if one place it says you could and one place says you can't? So he says because Rabbi Yehuda made a distinction between drying, if it's dry, if you tied it to dry it, or you tied it to catch the pouch to catch the milk. So Kanli Yabesh, the Braita that says that you could go ahead and allows you to put the pouch on by the udder is when you're drying out the milk. When you're drying out the milk, that's for the animal itself, the animal's benefit. Because the animal's benefit, so then it's like a clothing of the animal. And Kanli Chalev, and the place that it's not allowed is when the purpose is to get the milk. When the purpose is to catch the milk, that's not for the animal. That's for you. You want to put the pouch to catch the milk. So then
Yeah, I didn't get it, so. You cannot put the pouch for getting the milk.
Right.
You can put the pouch for what? You can.
If you want to put the pouch to tie the pouch, and that will prevent the animal to dry out the milk. The animal will not give out milk.
Not go out.
No, the milk won't go out of the animal, and that's beneficial for the animal. That's helpful for the animal. So something that's helpful for the animal makes it more likely that it should be not considered a load. Something that's for my purpose, when I carry something for my purpose, or I do something because I want to save the milk, I want to catch milk, that will be considered a load. The Gemara continues. Tanya Rabbi Yehuda, Ma'isa be'izim shel beit Antiochia. We had the izim, the goats of the house of Antiochia. Antiochia. Sheyedadeim gasim. The udders were very large. They had large udders. And what did they do? They made a pouch to protect the udder, that the udder shouldn't scrape against the ground, right? So how do you like that, Adam? So that is for the purpose of the what? Of the animal. Protect the animal. That's not called from suffering. Here we go. Well, so they said that they, or he said that they from the thorns, it could go into the thorns, and therefore that was the purpose, and that was allowed. Now, Tana Rabbana, fascinating Gemara. A terrible tragedy happened. Someone's wife passed away, and she had a child that needed to be nursed. That means, let's say, a child usually nursing was between, in those days was 2 years and younger, was nursing. And he didn't have any money. The husband had no money to pay for a wet nurse to nurse the baby. And a miracle happened. Hashem made a miracle that he was able, the husband himself, was able to nurse the child himself. Now, how do we look at what? This is not progressive. This is innate. And by the way, you should know. By the way, you should know Hashem made the women the ability to nurse. not the men. And that should show the world, number one, I think it's a sign that Hashem wants women to get married and have children. Because he wired them up, he made them with that, it's obvious, a woman is obvious, she's given that ability, and people, and Hashem has made men and women different, and everyone should appreciate and recognize each one's role in life. Just, I had to make that statement once, right? And therefore people are making big mistakes when they don't recognize when something is staring them in the face, and they want to create a different reality, which is not. You know what I'm saying, Adam?
It's the exception that proves the rule.
It's exception that proves the rule, like Adam said. Here, Hashem made this miracle. Hashem made this miracle that this person was able to go ahead and nurse. Now, in a certain sense, what it reminds me of? It reminds me of the Gemara that Hanina ben Dosa, I think it was, that he didn't have oil one Friday before Shabbat. I think it was Friday before Shabbat. I think it was a story. His daughter says to him, "Daddy, we don't have any oil. We ran out of oil." Right? Mordechai knows the story. So what does father say? The same being, same God, so to speak. Misha Ama the one that says that oil should burn, he will say that vinegar should be. He says she has vinegar, so make vinegar burn. Meaning to say, in his eyes, it wasn't the fact that oil is a fuel. Who made the oil a fuel? Who made that phenomenon that oil burns? That's God's gift to the world. So the same way he makes it's a miracle also. So too that's God's gift to the world. He can make vinegar to burn also. It's not a big deal. Maybe in a similar vein, in a certain sense, it's a miracle that a lady nurses a baby, right? It's a miracle that Hashem made. Sometimes we take things for granted, right? The idea that a lady produces milk, right, Ralph? It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing creator who created this phenomenon. So the same way Hashem makes it, it's not a big deal. For Hashem, nothing is a big deal. You know what I'm saying? But and it's Hashem made the man command, but
we take it for granted.
We take it for granted. But this is not the way Hashem wants it to be. We're going to see the Gemara right now. Hashem does not want a man to be able to give milk. You see, we're going to see right now. Look what the Gemara is going to say. Amar Rabbi Yosef. So first, Rabbi Yosef says, Bore. Rabbi Yosef says, come and see. Kama gadol adam zeh. This man is unbelievable. He's a great man. He's so great. He must be someone great that Hashem made such a miracle for him. Shenaselo nes kazeh, that he had such a miracle that the norm was changed. And you know what Abaya shoots back? Amalei Abaya, how kamagrua adam zeh. In a certain sense, how deficient is this person? It's deficient that God had that God had to change the norm of the world, the way God created that a man does not nurse, a lady nurses. It would have been much greater normal that Hashem would have given. What's say? He could have been able to get. Hashem should have given able to write. He should have been able to earn a living. Hashem should have given it. It would have been greater, nicer, and that Hashem would not have to change the order of creation in order that he has to go. It would have been much nicer that Hashem would have merited. Hashem would open up the gates of Parnassah to be able to earn the wages that he should be able to pay for the wet nurse. That he needed to have this type of miracle, the changing of the creation to feed his son, and that is something that that it would have been greater. Hashem not have to change. Because if Hashem made the creation a certain way, that's how Hashem wants it. You know what it's like also? Hashem says, don't mix seeds when you're planting certain things, right? That's the way Hashem made it. Don't graft the tree. We could eat something that was grafted, right? We could have a grapefruit. It's a grafted thing. Many things. But the certain thing, but Hashem says, you do not graft, right? There's certain things Hashem says, I don't want you changing the way I made. How do you like that, Adam? How I made the world. So I'm just saying, You have to know if you should say, you have to know if you should say it.
Maybe in this case, it's a greater miracle for one of these left-wing types to get a real job.
Okay,
He's
That-
not
that- that-
he's like one of these types of people, and maybe it's a greater miracle for him.
okay,
He'll actually get a job than for him to do the transformation.
all right, I hear you, very good.
That would be-
Now, some want to point out, the Maharsha says, the man definitely had a merit. That such a miracle should happen. He had a problem, he had a big problem. He had a child that needed a wet nurse, and he didn't have one. And Hashem provided him, made this amazing miracle that he himself was able to nurse the baby. But it's still deficient that he wasn't able to support the child in the normal way by hiring a wet nurse. That and the Maharsha points out, because a person who was zocher to a miracle, he loses some of his merits. I mean, he gave in some of his cards, right? Hashem collected some of his merits to get such a miracle happen. That means he had to give in some of his good deeds to, and that's what we had also at Hanan. Moshe Rabbeinu asked for, Hanan is a matnat chinam. When he was praying, he was asking for Hashem, could you give it to me, not based on my deeds? And maybe the reason why Moshe did not want to use up his good deeds to collect good deeds. God, just give me a freebie, a matnat chinam. And that's the best thing that Hashem gives us. Hashem is molech chesed, full of kindness and rachamim. He does something for us, not that he's collecting from what we've done, and therefore we've already used up some of our merits. We need all our merits. We don't want to use up our merits, right? They should be there for everybody in the next world, and whatever they need to be used. Now here comes a very fascinating statement for all the people who, sometimes you see in the world, some people, there's an apparent fiction that everybody's doing well financially. That's a fiction. It's not fact. It's fake news. Fake news. Somebody said, Rabbi Joey Haber in the Sephardi community said, there is a tremendous amount of people in the community that are not making it. You know what I'm saying? The fact that there are many people in the community that are doing very well financially, but that doesn't mean that's the percentage. Don't make mistakes. Someone said, he said 80% are suffering. That's a very big number. I don't know, whatever it is, whatever the number is, it's not a small number of people that are suffering. I was just somewhere by a Pidyon Ben, they raffled a coin for Matan Beseiter to give out money for the community, people that are struggling. So it's a real, Parnasa is not a simple thing that people, and therefore I think it's going to be a chizuk, the Gemara coming up right now. It's going to be a big chizuk for everybody, in the world who's not rolling in as the expression goes, to recognize that's not necessarily the norm. It's not because look what the Gemara says. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Bo Rei, come and see. Kama koshim mizonot shel adam. How difficult it is. We see how difficult it is for Parnasah to earn money in the normal way. It's not so simple, because this guy he didn't merit, to get the money. He had to have something unusual to happen to him. Shinishtanul of Sidri Brishit. What happened? What needed to happen to go ahead and that he should be able to support his child? God had to turn over the world, so to speak, turn over the norm, that he had to go ahead and be able to nurse the baby, instead of being in the more, which you would have thought, Parnas is not a big deal. You should just earn the money. Just make the money, get the money, make the money in the normal fashion, the normal way of making money. The answer is it's not so simple to make money in the normal, what people think, in the normal way of making money. Let's see if there's any comment over here. Okay. And then they bring down that look at Gemara Psachim. There are many statements about that it's not a simple thing. I think there's a Gemara also we had that Hashem, maybe because Parnasa is hard, so Hashem didn't give the key to Parnasa, like the key of rain to the Malach. Hashem kept that key. Hashem has to come from Hashem directly, because it's not so simple. I think it's good to have this Gemara that people should realize if that if things are not so if it's not so simple sometimes financially to realize this is not it's not don't know people a lot of times people blame themselves and people are tough on themselves, which is also no good. People have to realize it's not a simple thing. We need a lot of schutim, whatever, and therefore to recognize that. Now, Rav Nachman says, you know what? Teda, here comes Rav Nachman to prove the point of Rabbi Yehuda, that look how difficult Parnasa is. The mitrachish nisa. Miracles happen. We find many times miracles happen to save people's lives, right? A person is in a car accident, the car turns over, right? On a highway going at a nice speed. And sometimes they walk right out of the car. Sometimes it's a miracle, right? Or other miracles happening that Hashem happens to save people's lives. Miracles happen. But you know what? We don't find the miracle, that the righteous person, the tzaddik, maybe why doesn't Hashem make a miracle that in his storage house, wheat starts growing in his storage house? We don't see that type of miracle happening, but we see miracles happening, people's lives being saved, things that are unusual ways. So that is just another point of showing that that panasa is not so simple, and therefore because earning money is not so simple, so therefore those miracles that have to do with earning money, they're not so common compared to the miracles that happen to saving people's lives. Okay, Tana Rabbanan. That comes a very interesting Gemara. Tragic that the woman had her hand was part of her hand, the front was cut, right? The front of her hand was cut off. Let's say amputated the front of her hand. What do they call it? The hand has been cut off. Gidemet, right? Gidemet. So it's a tragic thing that her hand was missing. V'lohikaba. And he did not know that she was a Gidemet ad yom mota. Until the day of her death, that was the only time that he recognized, he knew that she was a Gidemet. Now the question, how did he find out? So the conversation is what happened that he found out on the day of death. So they talk about it, but there is another discussion because he never knew. She never told him that she was a Gidemet. And
But he didn't recognize.
right, so look at the Rav. So Rav says, look how modest this woman is. That she covered herself so well that her husband never recognized that she was a Gidemet. She's like about her husband never recognized. Her husband never recognized. Oh, Rav Chia says, "What do you mean? You're telling me that's good morning? We're talking about a lady who was a Gidemet. Her hand was cut. Her hand, Rahman al was cut. Let's say the front of her hand, a certain amount of her hand was cut, and her husband never realized throughout the marriage until the day she died. And then the Gemara says, look how great the woman was. She was so modest that her husband never recognized. If Chia says that's not her greatness, it's his greatness. You know why? Because it's normal that if a lady is a Gidemet, she's going to cover it up. If she's missing her hand, she's going to cover up her hand. And meaning a lady generally covers herself. A lady's modest. And certainly this lady's going to need to go ahead and cover up. She doesn't want her husband to see it. But Ella Kametz Nuadam said, look how modest this man is that he never recognized Shalhikavisha. He never saw in his wife that his wife was a Gidemet, that she's missing a hand. Now the commentators discuss, or Moshe Feinstein discusses, the question is the marriage, would a woman have to tell her husband such a thing? There's certain things that a person goes to marries a woman, he has certain normal expectations that he sees, there's something wrong with the woman, and the woman doesn't tell the husband, that could be a mekach tov, or vice versa, something wrong with the man, and doesn't tell the wife. It could be a mekach tov. It could be, let's say, if a person has a serious mental illness, right, and they're on medication, and then they don't tell they're going out with someone, and they don't say anything. They don't tell. That could be. I'm not giving a psak. It could be that the marriage was made might be a whole mistaken marriage to begin with, because they didn't notify the person before the marriage. They notify the person knows about it. Okay, they know what they're marrying, no problem. But if they don't know about it and then they hide it, and that's the type of thing that person might say, yes. It seems that the cut happened before marriage. That's what it would seem like. Right. It says it's clear it's before marriage. He married her, and she already had the cut arm, and therefore that is the. So, but that's if anybody, there are these situations, so I sometimes the rabbi might advise a guy or a girl who might have an emotional problem or some sort of problem, something regarding, but it doesn't mean that the first time they meet the person, before they meet, they have to tell them, the rabbi, I have this problem. They could, sometimes they could be advised, they could go out a couple of times, and then before it gets serious, let's say, might be, again, I'm not giving I'm just sharing, I'm not giving the extra, some people might say, they could go out, they might advise the person to go out a couple of times before it gets serious, I presume, you have to know, and at a certain point to say before, not that you're already getting engaged, and now you're telling the person, by the way, I have this problem. But the first time you go out, you don't have to, this is what I've heard. I've heard somebody tell a guy who had a certain mental issue, tell him you don't have to tell him the first, but you have to tell him. You can't just hide it. Maybe he had what are these disorders? ACD disorder. What's not ACD? What's it called? Compulsive. OCD. He had that was the story. He had an OCD. He had a serious case of OCD. He had a serious case of that, whatever it was. And the rabbi told him, you know what, wait, you don't have to stay the first day you go out with her. You know what I mean? Okay, everybody. No one should ever have any problems, any issues. Everyone should be well. And have a great day. Thank you all for joining.
Thank you.
Morning, Boker Tov.
Well,
And then now our job is to have a beautiful davening now.
right.
Yeah,
Anybody's fault.
weekdays. It's a Yiddish word for weekdays. Good for have a good week.
Word.
A word is a good word. It's a Torah word, a Torah thought, or a good word.
The guy is dating 4 times and then there is a word.
Oh, vort, yeah, vort is like an engagement party.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Have a great day.